I am calling the meeting, the personnel subcommittee meeting to order at 3:00 p.m.
See, I remember I used to roll over you when you worked in guidance upstairs. I rolled over you like this too.
Oh,
I always got my way,
I
usually.
did ask.
No, never.
and so,
Not with her.
I did ask that everybody come prepared and did read everything ahead of time, and some questions ahead of time, and nobody had anything, so I think we're good. So, yeah, if, pull up my. Ah, there.
Personnel agenda, it is.
Something on the agenda,
Open it then.
so is what?
Open minutes. Open 1 minutes.
Okay,
All right, do I have a motion on the minutes?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
That,
Thank you. All right. What was my
job description technology.
job description?
Yeah,
All right,
Director of Tech.
perfect. All right. Are there any questions on Director of Technology? No. Is everybody okay with them as they are written?
I am.
All right, so I have a motion to accept. I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Yep.
All right, I still don't have it. What is the second
All
one?
right. Student
Oh,
service.
I can't find it. The agenda?
Come on,
Yes,
student
Student
service.
services.
thank you, Director of Student Services. Do we have any questions on that as written?
I don't.
No,
Okay. Accept as written.
Return to.
oh, sorry, second. I can't get this to open to teacher evaluation.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are,
teacher evaluations.
all right.
Do you have it? Won't mine won't open?
Yeah, mine won't open either.
We are going
And the
to,
others open when we open half page.
now it's you, right?
I can't get my, I can't run. It's not recognizing my phone.
Question.
No, not that. Get the,
Yeah, superintendent's bearing gifts.
What are you doing? Stop fooling around. We gotta have our.
if you're gonna be bothering my daughter with emails,
Oh, it's your last night. What were they gonna do? Do we need to resend documents to you guys?
I can't open teacher evaluation, neither can he.
I had a feeling you would, Jim. You never let us down.
I
No,
don't know why I cannot
I'm not
find
kidding.
the agenda.
It's
You can't
good.
get it either?
Sometimes that's the way to roll.
I can't
Yeah.
find the agenda in my email. There's so many stinking emails I can't
my
find the
Chromebook's not
agenda.
not logging
I
on
looked
here.
at it, and I said,
Yeah.
"This looks great."
It's teacher evaluation.
Oh, maybe
Thank
I
you.
know what it is.
All right.
To the Marshall rubric.
Yes, Marshall
I'm not sure
Rubric.
if it's the right-
Yeah, I know, we did get one.
The 2014 is different. It's just silly.
I'm
It's not
sending
that.
this-
Okay, I think it's
Well,
working.
I'm gonna get out of it and then try to get back in.
So when you like.
Yep, it's working now.
Now, the personnel agenda.
Finding stuff. It makes me bonkers. Just sent it to you, Joe.
Personnel documents,
It's so easy.
oops, teacher evaluations.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the Marshall evaluations. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Why does it say marshallmemo.com?
That's the website that he uses to publish his stuff.
Would you like me to do that for you?
So,
I'm not-
No,
I'm
No,
being
no, no,
serious.
I don't know, it won't open, teacher evaluation doesn't open.
Questions, But yes,
yeah, okay,
I mean, whatever the question is, I'm pretty sure I can think.
all right, good.
Yes, they send you, so.
Apparently, I thought Steve was gonna be here for my backup, but now, it's, you know, as long as we're done by 3:30-ish, I'm good.
Not opening, is it?
Mr. Baker, I'd like to make a motion that we buy Pete a new iPad for his going away gift.
Denied.
Denied, yeah.
All right, so what, so the teacher evaluation rubrics, what would we like to know? Jim, do you want to start off with questions?
Should password.
Yeah,
Would you like to-
sure. So I've been through that pretty thoroughly. I like the evaluation. I like the content of it. the Marshall content. And it talks about, let me get my notes here. It references in part A, subject area, subject matter, detailed plan, high standards, plans, prepares, plans, drafts, designs each lesson with clear measurable goals, focused on measurable outcomes and aligned with unit goals. So given that our curriculum, the integration of our curriculum horizontally and vertically is still in process, what standards are going to be used in terms of the evaluation? There has to be some kind of uniform standard that's being used to evaluate how the instruction is being delivered. So I'm wondering, what that is.
It's that.
Yeah, right. But what standard, in terms of the evaluation, you have all these criteria. You've got the self-evaluation, and then you've got the principals evaluation.
Yeah,
And it has all these categories, but there's not uniformity now in our curriculum.
that's right.
So how are you going to objectively evaluate people in terms of the delivery of the curriculum?
You would have difficulty with that. I'm taking this one.
Okay,
All right, hold on a sec. So if you are evaluating a teacher teaching reading and you're evaluating a teacher teaching math, there's a unit alignment that you would have normally for third grade reading, right?
Yep.
The problem we're having right now is that the kids are coming in all over the place from this whole situation that we've been in. So the units that are planned may not always be what need to be taught because they may not be ready for them. That's one problem. But all the other areas on the curriculum document can be evaluated. And then you can find out if this teacher has a clear teaching point, a clear lesson plan. And that's what you would evaluate. We cannot right now say to people, are you in the box of, are you teaching this lesson on this day at this time? It will never be like that because kids are too dynamic.
yeah, and that's not what I meant.
Yeah. I just want to make sure though, for the
Yeah, we're
public.
far away from that.
Right. Yeah, which we're almost too far away from that,
Right,
right?
right.
So we're kind of like too far on the other side where people are doing their own thing almost to the point where we need to tighten it up a little bit, right? It's tricky. Now with math,
Depends on the meeting of a little bit.
well, it also depends on the where we are with the curriculum, because with the math
Right.
curriculum, K-6, they're pretty tight right now
Okay,
because they just adopted a new curriculum. And the only way to implement it is to try to stay tight to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So you said it really well, Jim. You said the way I put it is in some areas, we have a lot of work to do in curriculum. And in other areas, we have less. But I just want to make sure for the committee's purpose that people understand that part of the evaluation will be a struggle until we get those units set up, which is why it's a hot priority for us,
okay,
right? In areas that we don't have them, we need to fix that,
okay.
right? But you can still assess whether or not the teacher is teaching appropriate grade level topics. We have our standards that we've adopted that Patty worked on last summer. We have the consensus of what needs to be taught at each grade level. What we don't have is we don't have it broken down into individual units. With those units set up with assessments, it's really the next level that we're working on.
What's your time frame for that?
I don't know.
See, I think
We're 2 weeks out of COVID really being the priority. We have to work on it. We have to, that's part of the strategic planning process. I mean, certainly not, I'm not going to say next month or anything, but we need to set a clear timeline and a goal for sure.
See, this is where I have a bit of a problem, because this is a teacher evaluation. You said it right. The kids are dynamic.
Right.
I'm going to take a simple thing. One of the first chapters, the cell. Well, the teacher's teaching the same course, but maybe more advanced than I am based on the knowledge of my kids. And that's why I go back to each class has to have reasonable, attainable goals. So the teacher, when the kids are coming in, know. And that's why I push so hard to go back. Oh my God, he's going back to a department head.
Right.
Usually a high school teacher who goes back, in my case, to science and makes sure that the kids of the first grade know this, know that, in order for them to advance. And I know this is heresy, but I truly believe that there are times when kids are not advanced enough and need to be held back. God, that's awful. I'm still tired of kids coming out of high school not knowing and not having a work ethic and not, can't do simple math. All right. I mean, granted, she's a math teacher now, but I went into to the Whopper Burger and it came to like $9.87 and I didn't want to change back. So I gave 12 cents to the girl after she had run through the machine. She couldn't figure out that she had to give me a quarter. She called another girl over. She couldn't figure the quarter. Now this happened to be an epic, probably not a Sanborn kid, but kids need to be able to do that stuff when they get out of high school.
Right.
Right. And these were high school kids. We have to have attainable goals. And I think a department head would go a long way in making sure that at the end of the first grade, end of the second grade, third grade, all the way up. But I'm concerned you're going to be too tied to teacher evaluation and where the kids are. You could have the best teacher in the world. When I was subbing here, teacher had the worst, absolutely worst class I had ever seen. Another teacher who somehow slipped through was literally, as I'm a sub, and I'm not going to Brian or anybody and say, hey, by the way, I want you to know about this guy. I'm a sub. He was literally classic, what we're taught in our day when it was, student teaching, literally teaching to one side of the class. And the other kids were reading motor magazines.
Yeah.
He wasn't taught properly. The thing is, you don't test, you test the product. All right, if you're making a car, you test the product. The product is good, your teachers are good. All right, and this is what we have to look at more than look. I went through 4 years of teaching school. I don't know, a couple of master's degree. I remember, God Almighty, my master teacher. I taught my first class, and I know I hit it out of the park. And she said, what do you think? I said, I think I really did good. And she said, yeah, but did you notice so-and-so reading a book? Did you notice so-and-so? And so she said, of course you didn't. That's why I'm here. All right. So the teachers know how to teach. They're trained how to teach, hopefully. I'm not hung up on teacher evaluations because I know you're coming in tomorrow and I'm going to be hitting all 8 cylinders. And I know I looked at last year's evaluation to see what he docked me on, and I'm going to make sure I don't get hit again.
Pete, I think that's where reading this document, this doesn't work like that at all. It's just
did you read the
drop-in
document?
visits. It's completely different.
So,
Whoa, you can have, wait a minute. I realize it's been a while I've been out. You can have drop-in visits to evaluate teachers, and the union went along with that? Thank God I'm not vice president of the union
Yeah,
anymore.
no,
we
they
made
liked it.
friends with the union. I'm sorry I was late. I was leading it.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you said that, but I'll tell you.
No, yeah, I mean, we came in, I don't know how much Bob has said.
Nothing.
Okay.
No, I was just about to turn it over when these guys took over. I was trying to,
Man,
we've gotten on to curriculum.
You asked
I
for
would
questions.
never.
Yeah, it's okay. We're good.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but.
No, that's fine. I just can't believe they do that.
I want to make sure you didn't have a heart attack. That was first.
I've already had one. I know what'll be happening if I do.
So, and I know we have to cut this one short for
Yeah.
our next meeting, so I feel like me and Bob maybe can give a little spiel about what we've done, so that maybe it answers some of your
Yeah,
questions,
yeah.
specifically that one.
That'd be great, guys. Thank you.
So when we came in at the same time, we had to kind of get acclimated to Sanborn, the language,
Right.
the competencies, at least for me, I'm not being from New Hampshire. And we all had a strong focus on instruction,
Yeah.
engagement, and we looked at our evaluation system at the time. It's basically a positive, satisfactory, unsatisfactory.
Right,
Do you do this? Where is the growth there? So, part of the union thing is like, I think we were able to turn the information and work with them so that they saw that like, yeah, this was not really good either. Because eventually we could probably turn it on the teachers and be like, oh, you're all this, so we kind of went and stole, we looked at Marzano, we looked at Marshall, we looked at Danielson, and these are all very cumbersome. Danielson has 26 domains for teaching and learning. That's probably impossible to do all at once. New York City learned that and they brought it back down to 6. So we kind of just had a discussion. Brian kind of let us do our own thing, said, this is your challenge, go and do it. So Tom was very great, with that as well. So we wanted to look at a way of supporting teachers because I know you've taught, and I went through the same sort of process, 4 years, teacher college, you did your hours. I feel like I learned jack squat in those, like everything I feel like I learned in the battlefield, in the trenches, that's where you learn who's going to be a good teacher and who's not going to be a good teacher. What we can do as administrators is look at the tools we have to kind of, service them and make them better. Because we don't want the teachers who don't teach to everyone or realize they're not teaching to everyone, right? So we piloted this, we had to get the staff to buy into it, which is always a big thing. You're making changes and here's these 2 new guys coming in trying to like do whatever, right? We got them to roll with it. And we had some success. And so what it is they come in and they look at the rubric, right? Our favorite thing in the world, and they give themselves a grade of where they feel like they are. And we have a discussion about that. Why do you feel like you're there? Early on, we don't know these teachers. Some of them are new, some of them, at that time we're new. So it's a learning process. And then we start seeing them. And yeah, instead of doing the whole like, hey, I'm coming in January 27th, 3rd period, you better show me the goods, and it's the dog and pony show. And the teacher's probably done the lesson 4 times already that day. And like, they've already told the kids that, hey, if you're good, I'll make sure I have snacks tomorrow. Like it happens, These aren't gotcha, but like, we're trying to build the culture of like, we're going to come in, we're going to check things out. And we go into rooms. I actually had to be told to like, if I'm coming in to observe, great, bring your laptop. But maybe if you're just coming in because you like to come in and see what's going on, don't bring your laptop because it kind of throws them off a little bit. Great, fine. So we're building that culture of like having people in the room, which is a very hard thing, right? You're kind of very, bearing your soul. So lots of check-ins throughout the year. They go and sort of reevaluate themselves consistently. And then at the end of the year, we sit and we go over where they felt like they had to move on the rubric, where they moved on the rubric, how they feel like they did on their goals. Did we meet our goals? Did we not meet our goals? We have different things for goals. I talk a lot, so maybe Bob will want to jump in on that in a second. But they then take that last conversation and that spills over into the new year. So that next conversation is already started from the year before. So now it's a continuous sort of cycle.
I get it, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, you'll know where I'm coming from. Hope you never happen to Steve Gills and McDonough. You know what'll happen there. You'll be losing good teachers left and right. See, I've got the history,
Yeah,
I've been burned,
Yeah.
right? When I have a principal and I say to him, you lied to me, and he looks at me and says, yeah, I did. Right? You know what I'm talking about. You were under that tutelage. I mean, it was awful. I worked under Vic Daly. Your system, no problem. Great, right? We called him St. Vic, best principal anybody could ever imagine. And boy, did he get people to perform.
Yeah.
Right? But you can have the other end of the spectrum too, and you got to be real careful on that. So enough.
I think one important piece in looking at the Marshall rubric is to understand the one thing that, and I told this directly to him, is I wish he didn't put numbers at the top. Because people tend to focus on it. And there's a tendency to think that it's a scoring rubric, and it's not. It's a growth rubric. And what he will tell you is, if somebody is if they had every single area in that second column from the left, which I think is labeled number 3, and I've heard him say this twice, that teacher would be a very, very, very good teacher, 3 variants. And so there's a tendency for teachers that are feeling less competent to rate themselves too high. And what I found is the best teachers I've ever worked with tend to rate themselves lower than they are, because the goal of the rubric is not a gotcha situation. You're not trying to rate a teacher. That is an incorrect, inaccurate, and a wrong word. You are seeking to identify areas for that teacher to grow. And ideally, the teacher finds their own areas for growth. And I'll give you an example. I believe it's the next to last rubric, and I believe it's I. And that is an area where it talks about reaching out to parents. I want to say it's FI. And that area is one that says something to the effect of reaches out to the problematic children's parents, doesn't reach out to anybody, reaches out to some problem kids, reaches out to a few parents, and then reaches out to everyone. And that particular area is one that I've had teacher after teacher after teacher over the 8 years, I believe, I've been using this method. Identify that area and say, you know what, I need to reach out to more parents and talk about positive things. I've had multiple teachers, of probably a dozen, who set that as a goal for the year and have reached out to those parents to say, you know what, you got a great kid. Okay, your kid is really kicking some butt. They're super nice. They work their backside off. And these are parents that may have never had an email from a teacher about anything to do with their kids' affect, their ability, their intellect, and so forth. That's a huge thing, because what happens is that is identified very clearly in a rubric that looks like this. And the general idea is to have them take that rubric, look at it the first of the year, the middle of the year, and that's mostly for, in our system, it's our first 3-year teachers have to do it the middle of the year, and also at the end of the year. And the end of the year evaluation ideally becomes the beginning of your evaluation for the next year. And they can identify areas, and the good teachers will sit there and say, okay, you know
Vertical
what?
integration.
Pardon?
Sort of,
Vertical
yeah,
integration.
yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
whatever that
growth.
area is,
Right.
okay,
Growth, yeah.
because it may not be that for somebody who's teaching, you know, the foods class across the hall from her. Okay, there's no such thing there for her, but she might say, you know what, I haven't done as good a job of contacting parents. I haven't done as good a job with, you know, previewing the lesson for kids, doing
So
that first piece at the beginning.
We've got 6 minutes left.
Sure.
Okay.
And what I'm getting at is, it's incredibly tempting to look at that rubric as a scoring document.
Yeah,
And that is, the guy who wrote it will tell you that's a horrible mistake and should never, ever be used that way.
What I look at it as is a standard that you want everybody to meet.
Mhm.
And when you're doing the evaluations, it tells you where they are. Are they at the standard, above the standard? Or do they need to work on certain areas to get to that standard?
But I think what you have to be careful is,
Well,
to
it's
look at the
telling you,
standards between the
Yeah.
columns 2 and 3. The way he'll put it is, you want your teachers to be living in 2 and 3 and vacationing in 4 and 1.
I use that all the time.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the way to put it.
That's straight out of Kim Marshall's mouth.
well, that would be great to get to 3. And then 4 at some point.
But it's virtually impossible to have a
To
teacher
have
that's in
this
4
all the time,
A
right?
teacher who gives you a rubric, any one of those areas and checks 4 in every one, and when I see it on all the time, classroom management,
Okay,
is lying to themselves,
so
okay?
that's clear, thank you.
Good.
Um,
I just didn't want you to get hung up on the curriculum alignment subverting this process.
That was just one piece of it.
I know, but it's really important to know
Yeah.
that this process can happen regardless of curriculum alignment.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I just, I
Curriculum,
don't want
yeah.
anyone to
Yeah.
misperceive that that's holding us back, because it's not.
we're
So
working on the
both of you
curriculum.
guys referenced goals.
Yes.
Do the people doing the evaluations have a set of goals in terms of following the standards of the evaluation? And you guys get evaluated in terms of how well you're doing the evaluations?
I haven't looked at the principal in a while, but.
Who evaluates the evaluator?
Right,
Yeah.
So the principals would evaluate
Yeah, there
these
is
two,
a, there is
Okay.
a,
and I evaluate Brian.
so what's good
Okay.
about the.
But no,
Marshall-
that's not necessarily linked yet.
Okay, but it's something that's planned for?
We are universally using this model,
Yeah,
and we can have a conversation about that component. I think that's a great idea, Jim.
okay. And then I just have one more question. It sounds like you're doing this now. When did you start? September?
Oh, no.
No?
This has been a process since our second year.
2018.
Yeah.
We
28?
started working on this my first year here and
Okay.
Yeah,
implemented it.
18, we piloted at the high school. 19, it became high school completely. And then we started rolling it out to other schools to pilot.
Okay,
And last year, I believe, was the first year. There are some things we wanted to fix, like last year, we had to change a couple of the forms because of COVID and like, you know, the MOAs to teachers and what we were looking for, the synchronous learning and all that stuff. So we're gonna be working on that, me and Patty, Christine, and probably you. But yeah, so it's been in process. So when we've had those teachers here, I know you guys were talking about curriculum earlier. You know, we've lost so many teachers that like they lose all that curriculum, you know, and like you have a new teacher come in and, you know, you want to trust them as content specialists and, you know, then they're here and then, you know, we lose them in a year or two and we're right back. So like,
but the core curriculum should be something that's a document.
yeah, no, I think, so that's what we are working on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to have sort of a framework that people can have and then make sure that they're, you know, utilizing and then, you know, like was being said earlier, like, depending on the class and if you're getting through it on time and the timing, just like, you know, like there are things that may have to change, who's in the class, like you might have to engage them in different ways. But you give them the sort of guide and then give them the opportunity to use their knowledge of kids and their knowledge of the content. That's why I think we're going with it all.
Okay,
But
so going back to September then.
Yeah.
Start of this year. We've got 300 something teachers, is that about right, or?
I know we've got 60 at the high school. I don't want to.
There are about 175.
Okay, 175 teachers, okay. So we're 50% through the year. Have all the teachers had classroom visits and
Yes,
they have?
I should have. Yeah.
And because in here it says 5 to 6 a year, I think.
We're
right?
aiming for 3 to 5.
3 to 5,
Yeah.
okay.
We can
You know,
schedule a meeting with Jim and Bob and I to talk more about this if he has. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
happy to, we want you to know about this. We're excited about
Yeah.
this.
I think Don would want to be a part of it.
We can just schedule another meeting for policy for this
Yeah,
group.
we can just talk about this. at
Okay, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I just don't want to shut it down
Yeah,
because
yeah, no,
it's
there's a
super
lot,
good, right?
there's a lot of depth here that I'd like to learn about.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that. And Bob and Steve, I want you to know that Bob and Steve brought this to our team and cultivated this in the team in a natural way. I didn't tell them to do it.
I
They
think
didn't-
it's really
they-
good. I think it's really good.
Thank you.
But I'd like to know how it's being implemented and kind of where things are at right now
Yeah,
in terms of,
Yeah.
of what you're finding.
yeah.
you know?
Has there been improvement?
You know, like I can note teachers that I have seen improve. There's a Spanish teacher that you used to have, that I now have, that she has really, she tries all of these things. And one of the things I want from a teacher is someone, because we say this to kids, it's like, you're going to fail, but you need to like learn from your failure. So try something. And then you need to at least think about, you know, so like, I've seen her grow. I have seen a math teacher go from, I think we need to get rid of this math teacher to, oh my God, like she might be one of the staple ones we have now. And then, you know, there's some that we've lost either because we've, you know, there have been one or two in our time that we've asked not to come back because they were just, you know, safety concern. And then some we've just left and, you know, like some that just go like this and some that are like this. So it's, evaluation is tough.
Like everything, there
you
are
know?
successes
Yeah.
and there are.
Well, you
And
know
every
how hard
class
it
is
is when
different.
somebody's marginal. This tries to take that marginal piece out. You can't be marginal if you're getting walked in on regularly and you're having goals conversations that are tied to the rubric that you're walking in on. I mean, certainly, I don't think it's a perfect system, Pete. I don't think any system is. I think that it's closer than the old dog and pony show that you were describing at the beginning of the meeting.
That's just what it was.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tool.
And you remember the Danielson book?
It's like
The what?
anything, the person doing it is just as important as the tool. Right?
Right, I don't know, but you know, that's the thing I have to
Let's
catch
catch up.
myself
I'll
on. I've been
call
out
you
quite a
tomorrow.
while.
It was just, it was like.
Let's catch up. I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
20,000 words, and there's, I can't remember how many words were in that rubric. but it's-
I'm going away next week, so I wanted to talk to you before I
People
go.
can actually
Okay.
follow.
Yeah.
They don't have-
Tried to do it the last couple of days, but it's been a little zooty.
It's a busy time.
It is. It's a good time though.
All right,
We got-
so
Thanks,
then
Steve and
we
Brian.
will,
Thank you, guys.
then
Steve and
we'll put
Bob.
this on the next agenda.
Yeah,
Talk
sure.
about it. Hopefully we get a couple more.
Might I suggest,
I know you have a lot. Yes.
you've got to remember, you're gonna have 1 to 2 new school board members, so you want to look at your agenda type thing. And if anybody's smart, you won't be chair. I mean, you will probably most likely be chair again.
Rough crowd.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Hey, this is my last meeting of this type. I gotta get them all. I get all the boots in that I can.
Look, I brought you a present.